Whoa.
Still some folks filtering in. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday.
What's going on?
Looks like Andy's just about online.
Can you hear me? Tim, can you hear me?
One more minute for folks.
What's up?
People. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to Deno's Live Office Hours. I'm Tim. I'm here with Andy. Andy, you're muted, by the way, if you didn't know that.
Am I?
We are your hosts for today. Andy, can you hear me? Everything good?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
I cannot hear you. You're muted. Okay.
Give me 1 second. Let's see.
All right, Andy, what do you think could I join the stream and then I might be able to hear you? Do you think?
I'm not sure what's wrong with my thing. I have OBS set up, and I had to do a few like audio routing to get it to go into the live stream, but maybe that's why it's not like connecting. Can everyone else hear me? Because the green circle around my thing is lighting up. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Tim, can you hear me? Maybe it's just yours.
Yep, I can hear you now. Okay, we are good to go. So, okay. All right, sorry about the initial difficulty there, folks. Let's restart this. Welcome to Office Hours. I am Tim, and Andy is here, and we have established that we can hear each other. This is like a really bad wireless service commercial.
Yeah.
But we don't do wireless, thankfully. We do. Well, I mean, we have it, but I mean, we don't sell it, so that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Is the new slogan for Deno. That's what it is.
Yeah, when I saw that guy changed companies like 10 years later, I was like, wow, he was waiting for that moment. That was pretty interesting. So we've got a lot to talk about and cover today, don't we?
Yeah. So I think we've taken your feedback over the past like few office hours, and last time we had a prompt. This time we'll have another like kind of theme that's more closely tied to Deno, and we can jump into that soon. And we also put in a little agenda in the office hours channel, so if you haven't seen that, please take a look. But yeah, to kick things off, we can just talk about some updates from the company. Yeah. Any recent updates from us, Tim?
Well, I'm working on one. I hope to have it out today, but I was out a bit yesterday. Had a thing I had to do. I've been working on a series of community spotlights, and my favorite one so far, the one that I'm working on, is a library called DAX. And I'm a former package maintainer and a bunch of stuff. And when I saw DAX, I like immediately identified with it because it anticipated everything that used to suck about my job as a maintainer. It made it easier in some way. So I've been working on doing a spotlight on that, and it is written for Deno. So this week's theme actually is surrounding that. where I think a lot of us are developing for the terminal once again, almost as much as we're developing for the browser. I think some people are exclusively writing or working on console apps or working, keeping up console apps for SaaS applications that have a web counterpart, and that's been like a thing that's been going on more. Have you seen that? Noticed that? Heard people talking about that?
Honestly, so but we've been doing these did you know tweets on our Twitter. If you aren't following us on Twitter, then please go do that right now. I'll wait. All right, good. So we've been doing these like little did you know about Dino on Twitter, little screenshot, little video, and a lot of Dino's like built-in namespace functions and things like that make it really easy to build CLI apps. Things like prompt and things like alert. These browser methods, they make it super easy. And just like in my conversations with people in the community, with developers who are using Dino, using URL imports in the script itself makes it super easy to just like interact in a CLI context and things like that. So it's definitely a use case that we've seen a lot, and I think it'll be cool to like talk about some of the modules or tools that people use when building CLI apps in Dino.
It was funny that you mentioned that because one of the things that DAX actually has a helper for is dealing with resolving relative paths versus absolute paths, or setting out on a relative path versus an absolute path, and dealing with URL imports when they actually have to resolve to local files in the file system is something that it just naturally does with the output and things like that. So, I started out writing it, and this was the thing that multiplied every time you touched it a different way. It turned into like 19 more things right in front of you. And I was like, I'm just going to do a quick 5-minute overview on this because this is a really cool library. It helps all the things. And as I started exploring it just led to more and more and more. It's like the Gateway Console library. It just led to more discovery of the library. And yeah, I'm really excited to have it out. But one of the things that I really liked about DAX and was the exploring it because it's built on Deno. It was really easy to figure out where everything was and basically how it worked without having to work through the giant honking tutorial, which is the module page of the library, which is why I'm converting it into a video. So. Let's see if we have any questions from anybody.
Yes.
Something like that.
And before we jump into the main stuff for today,
Mhm.
quick updates from Dino. We recently announced this State of the Edge Functions survey. So if you're a serverless dev or a DevOps person, we're really trying to drive more awareness to edge functions. So we're starting to do this survey. I'll drop a link in the Discord, but please take a look. Filling out the survey is going to help us identify some current trends, some frustrations, uncover some use cases, things like that. So I just dropped a link into the Discord. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So, go ahead, Tim.
Oh, yeah, those surveys are really really important. Edge functions right now, everybody wants to use them. Everyone is really excited about them. So
So hot right
use
now.
cases, yeah, it is. But use cases are so varied. So like driving the actual engineering muscle behind product iteration and improvement there really has to come from things that people are asking for right now, because otherwise it is just such an endless sea of possibilities. So for people that are out there, if there's something, if you work with edge functions and serverless, and if there's something that frustrates you about it, or if there's something you really love about it and you don't want anyone to ever think about changing it, go put it into that survey, because that's what it's there for. And it's not just for us, for Deno. It will influence the broader, how everybody that is currently working is looking at this. So I think every other provider out there is currently in the same. Hey, we really need to hear more from what you folks are doing with it. So yeah, please go and fill it out. It won't take long. It's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast, yeah.
Yeah. So, do we have any questions from the audience so far?
Yeah, or any
Sometimes,
anyone want
sometimes
to share their experiences building a CLI with Deno? All right, we got
here we
Puneet.
go. We have Punit. Punit, let's welcome Punit. Okay, and I am waiting for Punit to respond. They're on mobile, so it may take just a second, depending on what kind of coverage they have. Yeah, we're also interested in what else you're doing with the CLI, other than just importing DAX, because it basically kind of like does all things that you need to do in a terminal if you install software. That's kind of how I cut my teeth as a programmer, was writing different parts of the systems programmers. I think kind of felt isolated from a lot of other developers, because they write code that's just part of the operating system that a lot of other programmers take for granted, and tools that developers just really take for granted. You don't think much about the code that goes into the tools that you write. So this trend towards everyone knowing how to deal with stuff, and also seeing like ANSI escape sequences being the cause of a bunch of CVEs over the last few years. That was a big. Okay, we have Puneet coming back in. That was really funny, because it was like, oh wow, that was quite a throwback from. Trying really hard to give you access to the stage, but it doesn't seem to be. Okay.
Yeah, hi. I kind of wanted, I was using DAX actually for one of the Deno projects. I believe it was Deno GFM, because, I mean, long technical details on why it's needed, but we need to interact with the shell to generate some CSS, and we have to extract it from a node module. So, long story short, pretty painful to do that. And originally, the script was super long and super messy and super painful. So we switched it to DAX, and everything kind of just worked. It was great. And it actually caught one of the bugs that were kind of making my head, it was scratching my head. So that was very cool.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so I had a good experience with that. So thanks, T-shirt. I see you in the audience.
He's lurking there, but it's kind of hard when people are talking about something that you worked really hard on. But no, it is an awesome library. The streaming API that DAX has. There's these episodes in some sci-fi films where they're like, well, just take that system and couple it to the output of that system and that other system, and you're like, there's no way that you could like push 5 buttons and that is possible in the real world. That could just never happen. Well, okay, then David goes and writes a library that does just that, with standard input, standard output, and all the rest of the stuff. And being able to connect the web stream to the terminal is really also not something I ever thought I would be doing. But that'll be a lot of that will be in the spotlight. Unfortunately, that thing is almost 30 minutes long, and I didn't even include everything. I mean, I could spend 15 more minutes on the streaming API alone talking about it. So I had to cut out some stuff just because it just got so long. But I can't wait to show it. Was hoping to have it out today, but it'll be out today or very early next week. And check it out. I would really love to, if anyone else has other stuff that is in the modules area and you really love it, and it works great, and it's got a few releases. Like one of the criteria that I like to use when I spotlight things is it's going to stay around for. It looks like it's reasonably well maintained. Uh, and we'll do a spotlight on it, and we'll show some light on it. We would, of course, love to improve the ranking algorithm that we have with all of the community modules in X right now. And of course, work is going to go into that, I'm sure, after Deno 2.0 is happening. But one of the ways that we can fix the ranking in that right now is to get some of the really good stuff that's in there just a little bit more sunlight. So that's what we hope to do through these series of modules. So if you can think of other things, go ahead and at me in Discord, or shoot me an email, or whatever, and they'll go into the queue. And hopefully, as soon as somebody gets time, we can't. I mean, these are pretty time consuming. They take a few days, but we can't do more than like one a month. But someone could get to it. Do we have other questions from the chat?
Yeah, I'm
Let's take
looking
a
at
quick.
office hours and Diao Shin.
Yeah, I think Puneet is back.
Oh,
Puneet.
is Puneet back?
Yeah.
All right, Diao Shin. We'll get to you in a second.
Yeah, it looks like maybe there's some sort of firewall issue you're having, Puneet, where you're just not getting the invite back for some reason or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. You can also, Puneet, if you can hear me, use the text chat to ask your question, and we can relay it here for you, if that's the case. So let's go back to the.
Yeah. So Diao Shin had a message in office hours. Oh, did it go away?
Mm-hmm. No, it's right here. I've got it in the. It's in the live chat room,
Okay.
which is. I can read it if you like, Andy. Do you have it? You want to read it?
Oh, go for it.
Okay. We have a number of terminal projects, but we're having a problem finding non-hacky solutions for ongoing applications that accept commands. Feels like we're being coerced into creating some SSR React dashboard because typing commands into the terminal while it's printing is so seemingly unsupported. Yeah, you would definitely be interested in taking a look at DAX. David, do you want to join up on the stage and talk about the approach? I haven't quite done that with DAX yet, so I'm not sure how that would work.
I'm not sure I'm understanding that. So that's basically getting input from the user while printing out information.
Yes,
I
yeah,
think. Yeah. So
basically
there's
simultaneously.
so that's supported in DAX. You can use input and get output, but probably like you can have the user providing input, and you can be showing progress bars and a whole bunch of other stuff at the same time. But it might. I'm trying to think. It might be good if I extracted that out into a separate library just for that, because probably using DAX overall is maybe a bit heavy-handed in some situations. Like it's really good for scripts, but then it requires all these permissions because it's an entire shell implementation in there. So, which might not be relevant in some scenarios.
I would definitely use the progress stuff alone. Definitely. If you were to break that out, that would be something that I reached for a bit. However, I don't imagine me using the progress bars and also not using the logging and a few other things. So for me, just importing the library would make a ton of sense for kind of whatever I was doing. I don't think it would seem heavy-handed, given that I'm using a lot of what's coming out of it. But yeah, definitely, people would do that. Oh, do you have any plans for implementing something like dialogue, LX dialogue, something a little bit more basic? Or there's another one with Wisp or something like that. What it was called? That was similar, like a menu config as part of DAX.
Well, I'm just looking at LX dialog. So there is like input selection where you can
Mm-hmm.
do like multiple selection and then single
Yes.
selection.
Yes.
So, but it's not. It doesn't seem as complicated as, or like it doesn't support as many scenarios as Alex dialog.
Yeah, it does. It does have the really great select. Part of the demo that I did with that was I used Deno has a really great command to get all of the information about network interfaces that are available on the host machine. So getting that and presenting a user, okay, which Ethernet device do you intend to use here? With it is always an arduous thing for an installer, and with DAX, it's really just a few lines of code with DAX and Deno. So it was a interesting way to show that. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to see it. Actually, I hope you like it. Now that I've said so many great things about it, it'd be awful
Nice.
if it was terrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Well, let's see. Let's see if we have some more requests from the audience. And also, Dax is making Dax the cat is making a has a cameo role in the mod spotlight.
Oh, I can't wait. There should be more animal-related features from Deno. All right, I'm looking at the live chat right now, and Petrek has a question. How complete is Deno's WebSocket support?
Uh, I'm, I'm not 100% sure of. Is in like through Node or
Yeah, I'm not totally sure on this one either. David, do you know?
I'm not as familiar about this. I know Divi landed some testing suite recently, I think. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure on how much support there is. I've never used it.
Yeah, okay. Well, Patrick, if you have any follow-up questions with that, feel free to just tag me or Tim, and we can hopefully get a suitable answer for you.
yeah. If you have a specific scenario about WebSockets, then yeah, it would be really easy to or easier for us to get a concrete answer for you. We have Puneet finally found their way into the office hours chat room, and what they're looking for is a memory comparison between Node and Deno. Have we looked at like heap usage for running the similar amount of code? I'm guessing that you're curious the most about like what's not V8 or um, like if you could kind of narrow it down a little bit for like a certain kind of workload. Because if it's something in V8 is V8, so okay, we'll give Puneet a little bit of time to gather a question together more specifically about memory usage.
Okay, so now I'm looking at the chat again, and I'm just trying to see which one we have answered yet. So Steve has a question. It says, I was wondering if there is a good way to shut down a Deno server started with the serve function from HTTP std library. I found a way using a board controller, but I'm not sure if it is a good way.
I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. A board controller is the way to do it.
There's also, I think, the serve function calls an underlying server class, I think, and on that there's a close method. I'm just trying to remember. It's been a while since I've been in here.
Okay, well that's really helpful. That's helpful. Good to know.
Let's see. Are there any plans on implementing the remaining Node internal modules in crypto? Yes, I believe so. I think we have couple of blog posts about that, also a couple of questions in the Discord server about that. I believe there are plans for that. I don't have an ETA for that, though. Let's see if we have... Okay. Okay, so going back to the subject of WebSockets, Patrick, yes, we do have WebSocket support. I haven't used it personally, but yes, there are a few quirks in there, and it looks like we have some code posted to illustrate those. So we definitely appreciate that, and Andy and I will make sure that developers take a look at that. I'm not sure if I could help debug that live here on the program, but yeah, definitely we will forward that over to developers to take a look at. So thank you for posting it. What do we have as far as other questions in the chat room?
Frazzle is asking about Deno 2.0 roadmap when? Soon.
As last week, soon.
Soon.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Yeah, there's not so much to say about that. We can talk a little bit about 131, which came out, I think now it was 2 weeks ago. But adding support for Package.json, how does everyone feel about that? You can just leave a comment in the chat room, or if you want to speak, here we go.
Oh, well, I wasn't... Okay, sure. Package.json, I have mixed feelings about it, as with a lot of stuff. I think it'll be interesting, especially for beginners. I've been working a lot to make the Deno experience better for beginners. And it seems to me like it may be better for them to see that Deno just works. Like it's not a whole experience. It's kind of magical in that sense. But the Deno enthusiast inside of me also thinks that, Node bad or whatever. So I kind of have mixed feelings on that. But I think it's cool. I think overall I support it.
Yeah, thanks for your thoughts there. We definitely have heard a lot of feedback on Twitter and on various internet forums about our move to support Package.json. And I think a big like one of the things that we didn't clearly articulate in our messaging is that, like, yeah, we support Package.json, but you can still do things without Package.json. Like, it's really just an import map. It's really just like, the import map and then plus like what is it? Running scripts, You should still be able to do everything without it. For the Deno enthusiasts.
It reduces friction for new people. We want new developers to find Deno, and we want new developers to feel, empowered when they use it. So it's already hard enough with them with existing. I just finished up a tutorial using Deno with Express. It's hard enough for them, particularly new people that are a couple of years just on the job, to deal with the quirks of getting stuff like TypeScript up and running and configured, or other parts that we want to make sure that Deno is there for them in that first step, so that they can get off on a more modern footing, even if they don't immediately realize it. And having the Package.json support is more as like backwards compatibility, where what we're actually doing is just translating that into, okay, what node packages do we actually have to fetch and stuff like that, and not so much embracing this is the way it should be done. is important to point out. I think folks saw that we supported it and saw it as a bridge back that way instead of like as a thing that we put together so that we could bring more people to the other side of it, where eventually folks are just going to be using .json-c going forward because that's what all of the tutorials are going to be teaching them how to do. So, and one of the things that we iterated on when I was doing the tutorial is just showing like that contrast between legacy. Okay, we have this, we can use this package.json if we have it, but for new projects, we want to create Deno JSON-C and do it this way forward. So putting that context around it just in one tutorial, I think would put a lot of color on people that felt a little off about that move that we did. But I think once 50 tutorials are out there from us that are with that messaging, I think folks are going to feel a lot more secure in the fact that yes, we are building a way forward. We just need to make sure that we're not leaving a lot of people behind, in a process that they might see as like too onerous to undertake in order to come with us. And being able to just use Express, even though it's one of the oldest out there, I got feedback from developers that was saying, hey, thanks for writing this and recording it and publishing it. I've been wanting to do this at my job for years, and this is going to help me convince my boss that I should be able to now. So that was a really good feeling in order to be able to get out there. And that's someone that's young in their career and eyeing Deno and getting off on the right foot from the start. So, well, maybe they could have used, there are more modern frameworks, but what matters to me is they were exposed to a better way first while they were looking at embracing the old. So I think I think folks will see in time.
Yeah, and thank you all for sharing your thoughts in the chat about Package.json. This is already helpful for us to know like what the concern is and how we can get ahead of that, especially in future releases. So really appreciate your thoughts here.
And surely, yeah, also appreciate the concern for, just security related things. Deno people do tend to be very security conscious people. That's one of the reasons why. So yeah, we will promise to be vigilant. And I think especially like in this case, more over communicative when it comes to things that may impact the perception of the roadmap versus less, which was the case when that roadmap came out. So, do we have some more questions from the audience?
Yes, Mentaji has a question. Mentaji writes, I've missed the last couple of office hours, but was the Deno init being something that can be configurable been addressed? I'm trying to remember. Did we talk about Deno init in the previous office hours?
We did a couple of them. It came up, and it also came up in one of our recent releases where Deno init actually did more stuff. What specific behavior were they looking to control? Like the boilerplate code that it, or something else?
Yeah, Mentaji, if you would like to expand on that or come speak, feel free to.
Correct.
Here we go.
So Mentaji, you were looking for the ability to control what code got generated and where with Deno init. They're gonna hop on. Dioxin. Will node support continue to be tied to the npm registry? Do you see node support getting the same kind of import from anywhere treatment? I'm not sure if I understand what you mean there.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either.
Do you mean multiple registries?
Hello, testing.
Dioxin, hold on just a second. Mentaji, welcome.
How you doing? Yeah, so the idea was to be able to set what that template is that is creating. Sometimes you don't want to be able to just create an empty JSON file or the test files. Maybe you want to have your own boilerplate of whatever your own actual project structure is. When I originally thought about it, it was taking it more of the way that Gulp treated like boilerplate for a starting project. I was wondering if it would be possible to be able to just like specify a template to build from, as opposed to just the default that's there right now.
That's a good
Almost
question.
positive.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm almost
sure.
positive there's an open. I think there's an open feature request for that. Currently, you could Deno init, and then you could specify like a template directory, and then certain things will be expanded from Deno when it creates those files based on the skeletal part that you put into it. I'm not sure. We will find out essentially, and get back and post in the office hours chat room.
I,
Let me make a note of that to follow up.
I think like one of the questions there is if, like for example, fresh is set up, it just uses like a Deno run script, and people can alias Deno run commands for doing setup and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of more a question of does it need to be in Deno and init? But I'm not so familiar in this area.
I think there's two common ways of doing it. One would be you run a package that creates a structure based on input that you give it or a configuration that you give it, and then there's the other where you don't have a package. You just have a directory, a template of like files and stuff. We can definitely. I can find out. I think that has come up before. I remember reading something about it, but I don't know if that had legs or what the concerns were, other than what David already talked about, because it is pretty common to see packages do exactly that.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we'll follow up on it for definitely for sure. It's an interesting thing to kick around. Let me see here. Okay. So, yes. Oxen, you were talking about node support being continue to be tied from the NPM registry. David, I think you had some remarks about that.
Sorry, I was just looking at something else. What was your question again?
No, it's okay. We had, but before we were speaking with Mentagy about the Deno init feature, we were talking to import from anywhere philosophy with regards to Node, where you can import from Deno land, but you here he exactly explained it.
Oh, sorry,
Deno
I
has
was
an
scrolled up.
import from anywhere.
See.
Yeah. Deno has an import from anywhere philosophy where you can import from Deno land, but you can also import the raw content of arbitrary JSTS files on GitHub or something. You can do
Oh,
something
okay.
similar in Node with npm install.
Yeah,
So whereas in Deno, the only node support is through the npm registry.
yeah, so there's been some thought here of using npm packages for more places like Git, the local file system. I think there's an open issue about the local file system, but basically you could, especially for local development, you could do npm colon and then some folder path or something. And yeah, we're going to explore how we can get that into the runtime.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. Needless to say, I don't think we have an ETA other than maybe sometime near.
Yeah.
As far as where that work could go. But yeah, if it's being kicked around, generally things tend to manifest pretty quick once a workable idea comes to fruition. That was a great question. Thanks, appreciate that. We have others. Let's take a look. doing that thing where I've been using my voice a lot this week, and I feel like if I keep talking, I'll keep my voice. If I stay quiet for too long, I'm just going to be gone for 2 days straight. So. Do we have any hand raises? Wondering if there are any managed hosting solutions for Deno long-running server as opposed to serverless functions. Yeah, we do have. Andy, do you have?
Long running server, is that just like a virtual private server versus like using an edge function?
Or are we talking about execution time as far as Peled? Peled? It's like. Let's get some more details on that. As far as long running, I don't believe that serverless has any specific timeout as far as like it gets killed after.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question means, but you can definitely um, deploy, Deno to any virtual private server with Docker, for example, and it works on
Yeah.
like any cloud provider, Amazon, GCP, any of that stuff. Um,
In the last part of the Express tutorial that I'm doing, I'm looking at just deployment options. Eventually, you will be able to deploy things like that straight to Deno deploy. But until then, yeah, the Docker image is your best bet, but also, VPSs. I don't think we have a VPS offering on the horizon, but, I could be wrong. Lino, welcome.
Oh no, I forgot my question, but I did have, I guess, commentary. I
let's hear
did
it.
see some more stuff going on with Fresh, and I was wondering if, oh wait, well, I was wondering what you guys' thoughts were on kind of a pre-build, so just like a regular build step for Fresh, for islands specifically.
A pre-build, interesting. Um, I don't know. I mean, that's really a question for Luca.
Luca said well, Ian, there's a GitHub thread about it, and I was wondering if you all had any opinions, but I don't know how into the the fresh ecosystem you are, I guess.
I'm trying to be more of a I'm trying to be more involved in Fresh. If you want to drop a link to that thread, I'd love to check it out. Um,
Sure.
my initial reaction is pre-build islands. Is that Kitson's face I see? It is. Okay, yeah, so like some pre-processing for performance optimization. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Um, yeah, I mean, Kitson's comment is accurate in that the island build process is kind of convoluted, and a lot of it is just ES build doing stuff. So yeah, I think that is something that we'll definitely consider. Um,
Cool, cool.
yeah, and that.
We
Go ahead, Tim.
we are trying to make the planets align in a way that Luca will be able to join us for one of these. It's just a bit of a lift with the time zone lag. Thought we might have had it nailed down this week, but didn't happen. But hopefully we'll be able to have one of these where we just have a lot of fresh questions, because that Luca's definitely the source to answer those.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to have office hours that is just on Fresh. I think there is a lot there. Yeah, I feel bad for Luca for that office hours. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, the fresh community is definitely they want answers. So yeah, we'll definitely try to make that happen.
Yeah, I think this will be one of the ones where we probably have to ask for questions as much in advance as
Yeah.
possible because there is only so much Luca and there is a lot of people that need some attention. So, but yeah, we will try to definitely put that together. But in the meantime, consider funneling specific questions to us, and we will get them to Luca and get them answered. Even if it's just, what do you think Luca would think about this? We'll ask him, and we'll find out.
Yep. Um, Here's a question in our chat that was from a few minutes ago, but will you add Dino to Azure? Um, Tim, do you have any experience deploying Dino to Azure?
I can look at that. I think it's very doable, but I have to confirm that. Famous last words are very doable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be pretty easy.
I mean, if
I just have to see if
Azure's
there's.
yeah, Azure is all
I,
virtual machines, right? If it is, and you can just do it through Docker, I don't see why not.
there's also a thing where I think we may have to do something so we can sign it for Azure. We'll have to. Long story short, we'll take a look at it early next week.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
One of those instances where you remember that you have a code worker that works somewhere technical somewhere. That exactly is one of the things that we will definitely follow up with that. What else do we have in the?
I'm seeing a question from Safadis. That raising a good question. Why ESBuild when SWC compile everything necessary? And I think this is a question about ESBuild and Fresh. Is that right? If so, that's that's a question that we can ask Luca. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I think Lino remembered his question.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to comment on the ES build situation. So, in Fresh,
Yeah.
I was slamming my head for probably like 4 hours, and I was like trying to figure out why when you bumped the version of ES build, everything started collapsing, and I didn't know what was going on. I got to the point where I've never used Go in my entire life, but I was so desperate that I downloaded the source of ES build and started tweaking things to try and see where the error was coming from. And then Luca, I guess, realized that there was an issue with Deno, like the Deno ES build plugin, and so he fixed that, and I was very happy about that. So I just wanted to point that out. But ES build is necessary for Fresh because you have to package things for the browser, and I think SWC doesn't really have a tool to do that. That's not really what they're focusing on. So yeah.
We experiment with a standalone executable ES build?
Did
No,
we?
that was Lint. I believe Bartek was working on
Oh,
something with that.
yeah. I think he's trying to do
Custom.
ESLint
Yeah, standalone.
standalone.
ESLint. But, nah, I'm sorry, that was ESLint, not a ES build.
Thank you, Lino. That's sorry to hear about your frustration, and good to know that Luca fixed the thing, and also for answering that question about ESBuild and SWC. So nice.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Yeah, I'm just checking
There's
live chat. Anything else? Bringing it back to CLI tools, building CLI tools, are there, for those of you who are building CLI tools, CLI apps with Deno, is there a library or a module that you keep going back to that you want to talk about? Anything that any stories or frustrations that you want to share? Cliffy is my go-to. I was just looking at Cliffy, and it looks pretty cool. I haven't used it, but Um, what's cool about Cliffy, Menteji?
I've seen Cliffy.
Yeah, Cliffy is it looks pretty cool. I mean, their repo. It says it's extremely popular in our slash x search. So, all right, Mentenji
Hmm.
is requested to speak.
Yeah, sorry, it's just easy to say it than type.
Of course, no, totally.
Um, uh, they kind of thought about everything as far as like what you need to do to create a CLI altogether, as far as like creating commands and being able to create subcommands for commands. It reminds me of, I'm not sure, well, I'm pretty sure everyone here has used the G Cloud CLI,
Mm.
where everything is kind of bundled under umbrellas. So if you want to do anything inside of, I don't know, I am security. There's a bunch of commands underneath that, and it's built in a way that you can create a CLI in that exact same manner. So it's really good for like organizational skills.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, being able to, yeah, separate your CLI into subcommands and things like that, and being able to reason about your code base. Yeah, next time I use something, I'll give Cliffy a go. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it also handles a lot of the something you have to do manually if you just use the parse function in stem library for parsing out the CLI options and things that you pass to it. It handles that well as well. So it can bundle all of your integers into an integer slot, or bundle everything that's supposed to be a string into a string, and you can set defaults. It's like a lot of the stuff that you have to do manually. It's just already done for you, which is really nice.
That's awesome. That's great.
Oh, yeah, and all the type checking and stuff there too. There, I like Cliffy. I looked at it. I haven't used it yet. I think I'll use it on one of my hobby projects. One of the things I don't like about the older libraries that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, if you use any variant of Nix, you're using getopt at some point, which is what parses the arguments for a lot of GNU Linux programs. And they don't allow natural language in subcommands like you could structure with Cliffy, and making more modern things where basically like, look, I want to talk about this strict subsection of things that you can do, and everything that I say after this is related to them, not like 15 other features that you have. So that's a joy using something written with those subgroups, especially if they're well thought out. Really easy, especially for repetitive types of stuff. Versus the things that use the classic long options that are just so cumbersome, and then one little typo and your heart just sinks.
Mm-hmm. Um, Lino, did you want to? Here, invite to speak.
Yeah, I had one note on Cliffy. I thought it was, I used it recently for, I forget what I used it for, but it was one of the terminal apps that I was writing. I think it was a bundler. And I was working next to someone who was writing in C, and I was showing him, like, I was trying to explain why TypeScript was cool. And I realized that Cliffy does something really magical in that when you define arguments like that you can pass, you can just write it in a string, like in like basically human text. So you could do like dash u, comma, dash dash unstable or something like that. And then type like it will automatically type what the arguments will be that it will pass into your like I guess your function or whatever the function that actually runs the thing. And it was because TypeScript is Turing complete, it can do a lot of shenanigans with string parsing and stuff. And so that was one of like the he was really like blown he like had a mind blown moment when he realized that it just does that, and you can't really do that in basically any other language. And I mean, maybe some people think that's a bad design decision, but I think it's really cool.
That does seem magical. That's interesting. I'll definitely have to check it out. It seems cool to play around with.
I don't, the older I get, the less I comment on what I think are bad design decisions because I've revisited those comments a few years later and was like, yeah, I was really wrong. So, but yeah, for sure. And well, the other thing is, this whole thing started because everybody wanted to use JavaScript everywhere. So it just makes sense that we're doing terminal and CLI applications with it now too. And what honestly is someone that wasn't like born in JavaScript. JavaScript wasn't my first language. TypeScript certainly wasn't my first language. It was weird to me that you write code in JavaScript, but you have to learn some other language in order to ship that code to something else. You have to learn Python or something else in order to deploy your code. Then you have to learn your primary language. So I like that it's just all JavaScript now. That's all you have to mess with. You don't have to do all the context switching. So we have the chat here.
Any other questions? Yeah, Patrick had another question. Oh, this is an older question that we missed about ESM hot module reloading. I also don't know, but we can ask our team.
We'll
But
find out about that.
if you start to work on it, I'd be curious to keep track of that project. If you have a repo or something, feel free to drop a link to it. Seems useful. It's definitely something that people ask about.
Is there a library that provides something like a promise that also gives progress reports instead of going from nothing to everything in an instant? There's X has an ability to, if you defined a pre-ordained number of items to complete, that it can increment, update that progress indicator, and those progress indicators can be separate and have their own references and can be updated independently. And you can either update it with I did another one of the thing, like I've completed a unit if each unit takes a specific, the same amount of time, or you can just like, okay, I've updated, X% of the amount of work that we've had to done. I've finished that and update the progress indicator that way. And they can be updated. So yeah, I believe Dex does just that. Arsh, if you want to take a look at it. But I don't have that I don't have the library completely memorized. David might. To do that, it could you could easily. I think you could pretty easily do it.
Yeah, I just posted it in the chat.
Yeah, it's really cool how you can just if you can have 3 or 4 of them going at the same time and not lose track of them in the code. And also the de-indent, David, now that we're speaking, thank you for the de-indent. Thank you for the de-indent.
Oh, that was a contributor added that.
Oh, well, thank them for me too, because that was like, oh, I really needed that. And also the ANSI escape sequence trimmer. That was also very, very, very useful in scraping output of other installers.
Yeah, the indent, it's re-export of some other module. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, the ANSI escape is from one of the Rust libraries.
It's just really, really useful. Really funny. At least for people that started in the industry when I did, watching people, working with like curses-based libraries again is kind of wild. For a while, that was just something that a very small segment of developers were interested in looking at. So, do we have some other questions from the? It looks like we have some activity going on in the chat.
Yeah, I'm checking YouTube. Yeah, that's nothing else from YouTube. And we're also coming up at the.
Yeah, we're also almost up on time. Deoxine is typing something furiously. I think they're trying to. So go ahead, Deoxine. We'll let you get that out.
Yeah, while Diaoshan is coming up with
Yeah.
their final question, any final thoughts, Tim and David,
Yeah.
to close out this session of office hours? I think we had a great discussion today. I think I learned about
I think we
Cliffy.
had a
Cliffy is great. Chat about Dax. Um, okay,
lots
Diaoshan.
of lights in general. Keep up suggestions for which one of those we should work on next. Definitely for sure. And yeah, it was a really great conversation today. And thank you, David, for coming in, hanging out with us today. That was pretty awesome.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for that. David provided 4 really cool pictures of Dax, and I could only really use one. So it was like the most important decision I made today was which version, which picture was going to go into that cameo for the Dax. So
Yes, be on the lookout
I
for be on the
Yeah,
lookout
be
for
on the
Tim's
lookout.
feature, Dax feature. Looking forward to seeing that. And
yeah, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah.
Rest and relax and rejuvenate for next week. We have a lot more stuff to do in Code to Write. So thank you, everybody, for coming out and hanging out with us. We will do this again in 2 weeks. If anybody has suggestions for sort of the general theme we talk about, we understand that you strongly want Fresh to be that theme, but in lieu of Fresh, if there is something else you would like to talk about while we are taking questions from the audience, please let us know in the Office Hours chat. And thanks again for coming out. Take care, everybody.
cool. Bye, everyone.
Bye.